Welcome to your new journey of an entrepreneur, hosted by myself, Joyce Van Setters, and my friend Pete Moriello. With over 20 years of experience, we will be exploring this world of innovators, providing insights and advice to aspiring and current entrepreneurs. We'll share stories of success, failures, and all of the lessons we learned along the way. Get ready to break out of your comfort zone, but on the other side of this, you will be forever free. Welcome to the Forever Free Space podcast. I am your host, Joyce Van Setters.
I am Pete Moriello.
And together we put this space together for aspiring and current entrepreneurs to get as much information as possible from thought leaders in your industry, as well as have a community to leave on, because we think that's essential. Right, Pete?
100%. Always.
Today we have one of those thought leaders here, and I'm pretty excited about it. It's a family friend of mine, so I feel comfortable enough that I might throw my feet up on the table because we're just sitting back having a conversation.
Yes.
So, Mr. Jay Jacobs, tell us who you are and what you do.
Okay, that's a big one, Joyce. I'm 66 years young, so I have a lot that I could tell you what I do, but probably the easiest way to sum it up is I have been a serial entrepreneur since the time I was a teenager. Some families are sports families. I came from an entrepreneurial family. We always were buying something, selling something, creating something, thinking about doing something, and we did. I mean, my parents were involved in a lot of different businesses, and the one that was for a very long time was they actually bought a franchise for 7-Eleven, had it for 25 years when
That's
I was
great.
in middle school and high school. And
Free Slurpees.
free Slurpees. And hey, wait, there's one other thing that happened before Krispy Kremes. I knew about it. When the donut guy would come in and he'd take out the old donuts, and they would credit us for the donuts. You take a donut and you stick it in the microwave for like 10 seconds, and you're like, you have the best tasting donut in the world. So,
That's a life hack.
Yep.
So, tell us about Young Jay.
So, wasn't a big fan of going to school. Wasn't somebody that really ever liked anything other than I did always like design. And I actually in high school had the same art teacher for 4 years. We became lifelong friends. And he was a person that really was a catalyst for me to move to New York. I grew up in Maryland, rural area. We traveled and did things, but I mean, for the most part, I'd never lived in a big city. And my parents, we used to go up to Connecticut. I had an uncle lived in Connecticut, and they hated going through New York, going over back when people had cars along the side of the road.
Right.
They'd have the tires off and cinder blocks and all kinds of stuff. So my art teacher really felt I had a lot of potential and wanted me to go to the best school I could possibly go to. And at that time was Parsons School of Design in Manhattan. My dad at the time was making $13,000 a year. I mean, a lot of entrepreneurial people do a lot of stuff, but they might not make a lot of money right away.
True.
And he wasn't making a ton of money at the time, but he was making $13,000 a year. The tuition there was $13,000. And so I went to Parsons School of Design, went for about a year and a half, kind of a smart ass. I thought I knew more than the teachers did. And I actually kind of did know a lot because my teacher was really amazing. So I quit. But I met my wife there, and she graduated with a BFA, and I started working. I literally left from there, set up a printing studio. Then I worked at Macy's. So, I mean, once I was in Manhattan and away from the rural life that I was living, I was off and running, and I loved living in Manhattan and doing all kinds of things there.
What was your first entrepreneurial job that you can remember?
Mowing lawns. I lived in a neighborhood. We had plenty of lawns, and my parents did not give me money. I didn't come from money. They weren't going to give me money, so I had to earn it. And so I would go mow lawns, and in the winter, back when kids would shovel snow, I shoveled snow. And when I mentioned about my parents being entrepreneurs, they got involved. One of the many businesses, which is like early MLM, they bought into a soap company for commercial grade soaps and consumer grade soaps.
Oh, wow.
Spent $5,000. We got a tractor trailer load of soap in the basement. I learned how to go out and sell it. So I would go in the neighborhood with my little linoleum and carpet swatch thing with a crayon, and I go and knock on doors, and if they let me in, I demonstrate how this stuff would work. So I was selling soap door to door. I sold a little paper called Grit, which was kind of a rural paper. But other than selling stuff in the neighborhood or shoveling snow or mowing, those were my jobs. Because if I wasn't doing that, I was at the store working. And then Dad always loved to make sure everything in the store was stocked well. The freaking holidays come along. You think we could just have like a holiday? No. We got to get out of the store. We got to blow up the beer. We got to do the
He's
wine.
breeding an entrepreneur.
Yeah, of course.
Oh yeah, I mean, so my dad literally never stopped because he grew up on a farm. My dad was very athletic and very fit, and he wanted to go play football. But my grandfather was like, "Look, boy, we got a job to do here."
Yeah,
and my dad, he literally from 5 a.m. till like late at night, he went to school. But my dad never really knew how to rest. He was always doing something somewhere. Because he valued working and being busy as of the way you live your life. And that's why I grew up with it. I love my dad. He's a great guy. I mean, good person that way. But my dad did that. My mom ran the store. She had some furniture store. I mean, I lived in a hive of like entrepreneur stuff. We didn't have, banners and flags from college football and stuff. Like we had business books, Think and Grow Rich and Jim Rohn and Tony Robbins. And I have had all of Tony Robbins tapes. Like I love it. I still, to this day, I still am like a rabid, person about anything that's got to do with personal development. I just love it. For me, it's fun.
That's awesome. I like that stuff. I like that stuff too.
So
Yeah.
I actually met Jay at New York Sports Club when I was working there. His daughter was working there with me. I was training her, and we meshed so well that she decided to introduce me to her family. Never thought I'd become a family member, but beautiful kids, beautiful wife. And then fast forward, Jay decided he was going to try out and go on Biggest Loser.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and before I hit Biggest Loser, I do have to also say that I did train with Joyce for a while, and she pissed me off because at first was like,
Shoots off on you.
this girl, she doesn't know what
Shoots
she's doing because like she goes, we're gonna do this body weight stuff. I'm like, body weight? Like you don't go to the gym and do body weight. Like you got to lift weights and do like what the hell did I know? But I once again, smart ass me. I'm like, what's she know? Oh my God, I hated her because like there's nothing more sobering than doing anything body weight. You realize how friggin' fat you are when you start doing stuff with your body weight.
You
It's
get
like,
down
oh my
on the
God.
fucking floor and get yourself up, and then talk to me about weightlifting.
Yeah.
It's horrifying. It was.
You
It
realize how
scarred
out
me
of
still
shape
to
you
this day.
are, or your weaknesses.
It
Right?
does. It absolutely. It makes you really realize how much you weigh and how much your parts are not working very well.
Exactly.
Not at all. So when you asked about The Biggest Loser, it really was Jenny's idea. She wanted to be on the show. She tried out for season 9, season 10, got close on season 10, didn't make it. Season 11 came around, and she asked me she asked her mother. Her mother gave her one of those stink eye looks like, there's no way in hell I'm going on this show.
That's my Kimmy.
Yeah, she is not. She doesn't play. She said, you get your father to do that. He'll do crazy stuff. So, I wanted to help Jenny out because I knew that really I was a big catalyst for her weight because, we don't have a childhood obesity problem. We have a parental obesity problem. And I was really the catalyst for always a meal was an event. It had to be great. We got breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and appetizer, everything under the sun. So I had a strong sense of guilt and wanted to help her out. So her 2 first auditions were in New York. This one was in Boston. We drove up to Boston, went there, and you sit in a round table and you've got about 12 people there, and the casting directors go around and they ask a couple of questions. Not much, but they somehow it's like they can sniff you out if like there's something you said or how you looked or whatever. And if you get a call back, you get a call back. Jenny and I got a call back, and they had us go in a room the next day, and they did kind of like a podcast, but with the camera. They sat there and they filmed us, and for whatever reason, they said, we really like this. We're gonna FedEx this out to LA. And what we found out was later on, and I made it to the Final Four. I'm going to jump around back and forth. I made it to the Final Four against all odds. I was the only man left out of all the other people that were there.
I remember
And
that.
yeah, it was 3 women to me, and they told me, like, on the live part, you really kind of treat it like royalty. When you get to that part, like, you're a good piece of property for them, so
Right.
they really take care of you. They pamper you and all kinds of stuff. Not really real pampering, but
Right.
like sort of pampering.
You're gold.
And one of the producers came in and she said, I don't know if you know this or not, but that video that you and Jennifer did in Boston, you had such a unique way that the two of you had, like, a lot of father-daughter relationships, I guess, are not as great. And I know sometimes mother-daughter relationships aren't either. But they said you had such an interesting relationship that we actually sent that video to all the other casting people saying, we're looking for this kind of rapport, this kind of way that these people were interacting. And so that was quite that was a wonderful thing at the end that made me feel great about the experience for Jennifer and I, because it was amazing experience for both of us. We always got along really well, Jenny and I, we did, and we still do. But that really, you can't, I don't know how to describe it. It's probably one of the most profound things I've ever experienced in being a parent. Like, you're really involved in something, and they're seeing you and you're seeing them in unpredictable situations day in, day out. So it was very life-changing.
And how much did you weigh, Jay, when you were going into that?
I started the show at 435. I had come off of my top weight of I started the weight at 400.
Okay.
I came off my top weight of 435 and climbing. Let me tell you, if you can get to 3 to 4, you can get to 5.
Right.
Like let me tell you, I'm a professional. I know how to gain weight.
Yeah, gaining is easy.
Right.
But I can outgain anyone, you guys. Trust me, I can beat your ass.
You win.
Weight. I'm a professional. So I went from 400 pounds to 181 pounds in about 8 months, and
That's incredible. You went from 400 to 180.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or did you lose
I lost
180?
180.
Oh, you lost
slim.
180.
But he
Oh,
was
okay.
slim when he came off.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
It
we'll
was
insert
crazy.
pictures.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. I will
was
tell you,
transformation
there
is
was.
crazy.
I'm not really like a Mr. Macho kind of a guy, but I will tell you there was one thing that my wife said to me that pissed me off. She saw me at the finale, and she called me her little man. Let me tell you something, ladies. Don't be calling your man.
Don't say that.
No,
That's not a good adjective.
No, I'm not that kind of guy. But it was like it got me in the gut. Like, you're a little man. And that may be where some people, like, they say they don't want to lose weight because they feel like.
Yeah, I'll show you. I'll gain it back.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's like, oh,
Pop that donut in the microwave.
that's right. That's right. You got it.
So tell us about what you're doing at VaynerMedia.
So, after Biggest Loser, I became interested in body composition because I was doing some things where I was supporting people and coaching people and helping them. I had learned about what was called a body composition machine from InBody because I was doing some guest kind of appearances out at the Biggest Loser resorts. They had them around the country for a while, and they had body composition machines. That's the first time I had ever learned about them. And I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. This is like really neat. You're not just learning what you weigh, but you kind of learn what your body's made of. Mm-hmm. So I started, and where I lived in Summit at the time, I was there with like temporary, like helping them out, and they got a body composition machine in, and they're like, oh, this is great. And they're like, anybody know what to do with this? And I'm like, I do. I was the only one that kind of knew. So I took on a wellness navigator's position there, and I started like literally having people come in and get their body composition done. And I kind of on the fly was learning. I knew enough, but I was learning a lot at the same time. And then what was cool is the people from InBody out of California, they came out to see me, and I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm going to learn best practice. Like entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
What's the best practices? What do you do?
Right.
Like, I'm going to learn the stuff like that I don't know.
Right.
And they said, no, we came here to learn from you. And we're like, what? And they said, yeah, we like what you're doing. It's like, okay. So from that little, notoriety, I started going out and doing some corporate things where I had bought one of the scales. The scale's like $6,000. They were not talking. This is like an entrepreneurial investment. Yeah. Like, okay, I don't want to do this, but so I spent $6,000, and I got the portable version. It's still big. It's heavy. You got to be able to move this thing around. And I started taking around corporate places, Boston Consulting, all different kinds of companies. But then one day, I was like, you know what? I love Gary Vaynerchuk. I've been a big Gary fan before people knew Gary. Like, I knew him back in the days when he was with his dad at
Wine Library, yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? You don't know unless you ask. So I called them up and said, hey, I got this thing that I think you guys might be interested in, body composition machine, and we're coming a little past the new year. Would you be interested in this? And like, why don't you come in? So I brought the machine in. The girl that was there, I had her get on the machine. She got hooked. She's like, oh, I love this. 5 years later, this March now is 5-year anniversary. I've been VaynerMedia's wellness navigator. And basically what that means is twice a month I go in and I have the people come in and they get on the body composition machine and I do a one-on-one consultation with them about, if they're new, I kind of give them a good baseline of what that looks like.
Right.
And if they come back, and a lot of these people have been reoccurring, I come back and we just kind of look at what's been happening month to month and what happens seasonally, what happens after they come back from vacation or holiday, stress level, whatever. And they have become students, which is the whole point behind this, become students for themselves about their body. And what I found was that 99.9% of the people that come in, they never had any, they know they have skin and bones,
Right,
and they got
right.
organs, and they got water, and they got all that blood, but they were clueless about what their body composition was. So I said, you know
Many
what?
people are, yeah.
Yeah, and being an entrepreneur, I like to do things that are, the way I look at it, like whenever I work on something, I like to do things that are timely and timeless. So I'm going, if I could share with people what body composition is about, and I could create for them an opportunity for them to start to think differently about whatever they were thinking about themselves,
Right.
that's worth pursuing. So I have been literally in the midst of doing this, and now after having done 5,000 plus one-on-one body composition
Wow.
consultations with people from every age you can think of, every gender. I've had people that were transitioning from one gender to the next. We did some stuff together. Like, it's been fascinating to see what goes on when all that happens. And I've had people of every size and weight and everything, every kind of thing you could ever consider. And one of the really most interesting ones that I ever did was I had, when I was at the Y, I had a couple, cutest couple in the world, 96 years old. They won some kind of a contest or something to come into the Y and do some free stuff. And one of the things they got was a body composition thing. Both in good shape, look great, look very fit. But when you get the body composition, it's based on algorithms that are for your peers. So when
Right.
you put your height in there and you put your age, the algorithm is based upon, within quote unquote a medical realm, where should you kind of be. There's a
Right.
sweet spot for where she could be.
Right.
The cutest thing ever was the woman. It showed that she needed to gain 13 pounds of muscle.
And 96.
At 90 something years old.
And I was like, Estelle, all I want to tell you is you're 96. Your numbers are really good. And I said, I don't know. Maybe it's possible, but I said, I don't know how possible it is at 96 to gain 13 pounds of muscle. And I don't really think it's
Right.
going to change the quality of your life.
Right.
So I use body composition as a tool to get people to have a very different view of themselves. And what I've found is it disarms them. I've had women that thought that they were going to be miserable getting their wedding dress on or what they were going to weigh. And I get them on the scale and they were like, you know what? That's pretty good. I said, you know what's pretty good? You weigh 130 pounds and your composition is fine. But I said, you think you're 130 pounds of fat. I said,
Right.
that's what happens. People, they take that number
Right.
and I'm not good and I'm 130 pounds of not good.
Right.
Yeah, I can see that.
And
A lot of people do that.
That's what happens. That's why I'm so excited about what I'm doing, because I have had conversations and seen people have breakthroughs. Like they're unbelievable.
All right. Tell us about the book.
Okay. This book is coming out.
It's to scale,
First-
not you.
It's the scale, not you.
Yeah.
It's the scale, not you. And basically, in brief, what that means is that we come to our size and our weight and our body shape and everything from what we think we are. And obviously, the sum total of your experiences, what you do, you didn't get there by an accident. It is whatever you did. But in order for a person to have a different view, I need them to know that the way that they've been measuring themselves is they've been using a tool that is not helpful, it's not empowering, and the way that they think that they're getting the information is not helpful, because it's the information is, whether it's plus or minus, it's what I call faux weight. It's not real. The number is not real. It's a sum total of a bunch of stuff.
Right.
But unless you can break it apart and then see how your body is how your unique metabolism is moving and shifting based upon what you do or you don't do.
Right.
You're going to be going through the same Groundhog Day scenario time and time again. If I've done something wrong,
Yeah.
I followed the plan. It's just the same narrative that just we all keep running because it's the wrong information that we haven't really been given the right information. That's really the honest truth about it. People that are challenged, it doesn't matter whether they're overweight, underweight, muscular, not muscular, whatever. People have a predetermined idea about what they think their value is based upon how they look, what their body size is, all that. It's a, as you know, it's a mixed mess of all kinds of stuff. It's all thought based. And I get it, but what I really want people to understand is, and this happens when I'm working with people, because when I get a chance to get them to understand their body composition, we start with a blank slate. We have an opportunity to get in a conversation about what's possible. Why I say it's the scale, not you, is when people come to see somebody probably like yourself or me or anybody that supposedly could help them. They're coming with everything that's wrong, everything they didn't do, everything. They come with a whole laundry list of all the things that they didn't do, all the things are wrong. So they start with, I'm the problem. Now, the flip side of that is you are going to be the solution or the problem based upon what it is you do or don't do.
Right.
But if you don't understand that the thing that you keep making yourself wrong about is something that, one, doesn't really measure things properly, and two, you don't even understand, even if you use one that's a good quality, what that means. Like you can't win that game. You cannot win it. So what I'm doing is I'm deconstructing the thinking process. Like, if you want to tell me everything, like I had a guy one time, he got in the car with me, we were going on an hour-long ride, and for 15 minutes, he went through a laundry list of everything under the sun that he was and wasn't, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And then I was like, are you done? And then he threw in a couple other things. I'm like, okay, you done? He's like, okay. And I said, okay, thank you for sharing that, because now I know all of that. And that's going to have nothing to do with our conversation, because they said, you have such a resume on what's wrong with you. I said, so our job's going to be to see what we can do to kind of move beyond that. I said, that'll probably always be there. And I've even had that conversation with Mitch too.
Right.
There were some things that Mitch is not like that, but he has a little bit of it. Yeah, I had a conversation with Mitch the other day, who, after 2 years with him, I said, Mitch, you don't know who you are now. I said, I know who you are because I was in that conversation with you 2 years ago.
Right.
And you still come up with that conversation a little bit, but not to the same degree. So when I say it's a scale, not you, the book is about getting people to understand about the scale, about body composition, about measurement, about those basics. When I can get them to see that's a possibility, and if they're willing to step into looking at that the same way if I was with them one-on-one, then from there, from that baseline, then we can sit there and go, okay, so let's get real. We're not talking high school body time.
Right.
You know, we're not talking like all these other mythical things, whatever. I had a woman one time, 127 pounds, physically fit, great shape, 63 years old. She did an in-body, and her numbers in terms of medically or whatever, the
Right.
numbers were fine. But she's like, I feel flabby. And I said, well, what does that mean? And she started to show me, she's like pinching like her skin.
Yeah.
I said, it's 63-year-old skin. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. I can't change your 63-year-old skin.
Right.
What you're doing is you're driving yourself nuts with the idea that somehow you're going to make that go away. It's not going to go away. So that's what the book is about. It is literally the first time that people are going to, they know of losing weight and exercising, and they sort of know about body composition, things like that. But
Right.
this is the first time it's ever been put together from a layperson's perspective. I'm not a trainer, I'm not a nutritionist, a doctor, whatever. I am them, and I know what they think and feel and how that goes on. And I'm coming at from that perspective of being like a good friend, saying, hey, look, I don't know if you understand this or not, but this is a place you really should understand a little
Right.
bit more. It'll help you a lot.
Now, how did this book come? Because this is not your first book, correct?
No.
What
No.
was your first book?
The first book was Smartphone Fit.
Okay.
I'm going to redo that because right now it's not on Amazon.
Okay.
But I put this one in front, and basically Smartphone Fit has been a labor of love of 13 years, and it came about because when I was on Biggest Loser, because of gameplay on week 7. I got sent home. It was Jenny and I got thrown to another team, and we had a team weigh-in, and a team weigh-in lost. So we weren't part of their team. So
Okay.
one of me or Jenny were going to go home, and I didn't want her to go home. So I took one for the team.
Oh,
that
you were
I
able
went.
to choose who went home?
Yeah, I was able to request that. I mean,
Okay,
it was
got
one
it.
or the other. So it played. Hey, look, it plays for good TV. Dad.
Yeah, of
I mean,
course.
I wasn't trying to do it for that,
Right.
but like think about it from their perspective. Like, Dad's gone home to save the kid. That kind
Right,
of
right,
stuff.
right.
But legitimately, it's like it was her thing to be on the show, not mine. So I went home. I was home for 4 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and while I was home, they didn't tell me to do it. I was taking pictures of what I was doing and how I was exercising, and I was sending stuff in to the producers. It was my way to stay accountable because I knew even if I never went back on the show, at the end of the season, you're going back for the live finale, and I
Right.
wanted to do well. So I knew that.
So you
if I
recorded your
stayed in the-
journey up into.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
So what had happened was there was a time, I think week 12, where they were going to bring one contestant back, and there was Rulon was there, and Jillian was there, and they were trying to commiserate over who it was going to be. As it turned out, I got chosen to be the contestant that got to come back.
Got it.
Another great TV episode. Here comes the dad back. He comes out of the dark of the van
Right,
into
right,
this
right.
whole thing, this setup, and it's father-daughter hugging and caring about each other, and it was great TV. And I was so excited because Jenny and I were back together, and we did really well together there. And then the following week, Jenny fell below the red line, and she went home.
Aw.
And it wasn't even like I got to hug her goodbye or anything. It was different because it was one of these kind of things where she went below the line, and they literally take them off the stage, and she's gone.
Oh, wow.
And all of her stuff's gone, and I'm back in this crappy dorm room by myself.
yourself.
Like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a pretty major shift in what happened. But as it turned out, I hung in there all the way, to the very end. And there was a Jillian thing I had when we were in New Zealand that I think is an interesting thing to share. If you want me to share what that particular
Absolutely.
story was, it was a pretty breakthrough as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. So Jenny and I did really well on the show, lost a lot of weight, whatever. And by the time, one of the things that was great was our season got to go to New Zealand for 2 weeks. We went to Auckland for a week, and then we went to Queenstown.
Okay.
And when we were in Queenstown, what had happened was before, people don't know this, but when you get weighed in, before you weigh in, they will weigh you. That way they actually know what the weights are.
Okay.
The story producers know the weights. Because it makes sense. They can find out, they know they can set up who's going to weigh when or whatever. It can be more dramatic. You're like, oh, this week Jennifer's going to lose 13 pounds.
Right, right.
Now, maybe she is going to lose 15 pounds and they know it, but people are sitting there going like, that's never going to happen. So it's real. None of the weight is fake, but they can set up the storyline so it makes for a
Right.
better story.
I
Fine.
understand.
Oh, okay.
So what happened was,
I always wondered
we-
about that too.
yeah, that's how that works. So what had happened was before you weigh in, they test you to see if you sweat it out.
Okay.
And if you did, you had to rehydrate before they would allow you to weigh in because that way you weren't screwing with the numbers.
Right.
So what happened was they wanted a urine sample and I didn't need to go. It's like, but they're like, okay, we're going over here. We got to go. Like now, not only do I not need to go, but I got to pee on command.
Right.
And it's like, this is, so they gave me 3 32-ounce Gatorades to be able to to get it so I could do
Right.
that.
Get the juices
As it
flowing.
turned out, finally, I was able to go. They get the urine sample. Everything's fine. We go off to this challenge or whatever. That night was the only night on the entire show I ever gained weight. I never gained weight ever.
Wow.
And I gained 2 pounds. Now, at the time, because I was where I wasn't really thinking about it. Didn't really process it because my weight was always pretty up. I still was losing a lot anyway.
Right.
But I gained 2 pounds. Jillian was I almost went home. Jillian was so pissed off at me. I was on her team that time. And so the next day, we're together. And she starts ripping me a new ass. And she's like, what the hell happened to you? You used to, she's going through, you did this and you did that. I said, Jill, come on. Look, I'm not the youngest. I'm not the strongest. I'm not the fastest. And then she goes, why do you say that? I said, Jill, I'm not the youngest. I'm not the fastest. I'm not. I did this like 5 times, and she just kept asking me this. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, that's what she needed me to get.
Yeah.
That's a bullshit line I've been carrying in my head my
Right.
entire friggin' life.
Yeah, your
And that's the
story.
one that I use when all hell breaks loose and I don't want to give up, because I have all the list of the reasons and excuses for that to happen.
Right.
And quite frankly, it's valid. In many regards, it's valid. But like anything else, there's a lot of things, as we all know, we're inspired by people, whether it's an entrepreneur or somebody in the health and fitness area.
Right.
We're inspired by somebody against all odds that does something. And so that for me was a defining moment. And it was the one thing. I have one tattoo. You won't see it, but I'll tell you what it is. I have one tattoo that I got from Biggest Loser, not from them, but after the show,
Yeah.
which says, "What you're for strengthens you."
Wow.
And there's another part of that my wife Kim was very smart. She said, "I don't think I'd put that on my body," because the full quote is, "What you're for strengthens you." And the other side of the quote is, "What you're against weakens you." So Kim goes, "I don't think I put the words against and weakens permanently tattooed on my body." So
Right.
that's really smart. So that's why when I'm working with people or I'm listening to people, whatever they're trying to do, from a business to their health or wellness to
Right.
relationships, it's like, if you don't get clear what you're for, I get you don't have to like everything. You can be pissed off about. Like, I'm not saying you are living in la la land.
Right.
You can look at both sides, but you got to get to the place that, like, okay, what are you for? Are
Right.
you for yourself or whatever? And so for me, that's when I said there's a lot of, and maybe because I'm older and I've lived a lot of life, but what happens as I go along, I pick up these things where there's like certain milestones or mantras and things that if you really pay attention to them, they're very powerful to get you from that one place that you really want to give
Oh,
up
yeah.
to a place where you can actually, like, you know what, I don't know how the hell this is going to happen,
Right.
but I'm going to make it happen somehow. And it might not be yourself. It might be like, I certainly can't do this shit. I got to find somebody else that's going to help me get over myself
Right.
to get to the next
So
place.
that I can do this, some sort of coach.
Yeah.
So the Smartphone Fit book was basically the journey of before you
Yeah.
got back on Biggest Loser.
It
Got
was, and what
Okay.
happened was when I came back, I auditioned for a TEDx talk.
Mm-hmm.
I got the TEDx talk. I did it. And then the thing
It
was
was The
funny
Voice,
about
you
it.
know that, right?
Thank you. Thank you. I'll send you a check, Joyce. Um, I did the TEDx talk, and it's funny because after the TEDx talk, I wrote the book. Most people write the book and then do the
Right, and
talk.
then do the
I'm
talk.
like, well, I did a TEDx talk. I got to write the book now. So
it.
I wrote the book, and it was fine, and it's okay. But I've learned a lot since that time, and I want to be able to take that and say, like, here's the genesis. I did the book, but now I want to be able to have even more application, because I still continue every single day. I track what I eat, my exercise, I track everything that's going on. And I have, like, literally now, I think I'm up to like 25,000 posts on Instagram. It's not that I have tons of followers. I'm not trying to get everybody to follow me. It's like,
Right.
but you can't come up with 25,000 posts if you're not really posting. I mean, that's a lot
Exactly.
of
That's a
frigging
lot.
posts.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just been an interesting, I find visually journaling makes a difference to keep you where you want to be. Because for me, out of sight, out of mind, man, I forget it all.
That's great. That's great. Talk to me about My Pet Fat, and then I want to get into your weight loss journey now, because
Okay.
a lot of people don't understand, a pound of fat versus the pound of fat.
Okay. My Pet Fat, I launched in 2001. It became a global, if you Google
I had
My
one.
Pet Fat. Okay, you had one.
Yeah.
It became a global phenomenon. It took on a life beyond what I'd ever realized. And I was literally I was in Time Magazine, on Today, like you name it, I was on some piece of media. It was even on, I had a 5 pound, you had a 1 pounder, I had a
Yeah.
1 pound, I had a 5 pound. And
We used to use it as trainers. We used it to our clients to say,
Yeah.
like, hold this. This is a pound of fat.
And now it's all over the place. But I was one of the original people. What had happened was this medical model. I did not develop the medical model, but it kind of was in doctor's offices on the shelf.
Right.
And I was literally at a gift store in Washington D.C. I saw this thing. It's like, this is cool. I know how to take a product and make it be something. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to give it a story, and I'm going to sell it. I sold over $250,000 worth of My Pet Fat
Wow.
all over the world.
That's crazy. Really?
I
Wow.
know, isn't it? It's been in books. It's been all kinds.
Oh, that's amazing.
So I became like the Kleenex of fat, because what had happened was, I didn't have exclusive on it. You could buy it, but what
Right.
happens if you go now? You'll see people using it all over the place, and for years until I mean, it's been a long time. It's been quite a while. For years, everybody called it My Pet Fat just because it was known as that. It was everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, it was even on a game show. A 5-pound piece was on one of those game shows where they bring out the something, and all the people in Japanese are talking about like what they think this
Right,
thing
right.
is.
Wow.
To win a contest. It's the funniest thing you ever saw.
Are you
Yeah.
still selling this? Or
No,
No more.
what was funny was when you audition for Biggest Loser, the things that they go checking about, which you need to, they got to check every piece of background about you, everything under the sun. I was concerned at the time that if I was out promoting and doing that they were going to think that I wanted to get on the show to do
Just
that.
to
So I didn't want to
push it.
screw up Jennifer's thing. So I just shut it down because like I don't have to do that
okay.
anymore. That was 2010.
Right.
So you
so
thought
I'd been
if
doing
they
it for
thought
like
you had an
10 years.
agenda to something else,
Right.
they would have.
won't let you
Yep.
on.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
That
definitely.
makes sense. So where are we going from here with the book? When's the launch date?
Okay, so here's let me you
Break
guys are
it
gonna hear
down,
this
break it
first.
down.
I'm going to break it down. So here's the thing. You can tell probably by the way that I'm speaking, I am not at a loss for ideas or thoughts. I
Not at all.
don't have any writer's block. I've never had writer's block. The problem is I have writer's fire hydrant. My brain's like,
You have writer's
I wrote
vomit.
oh my, yes, it is. It's true. I have over 600 pages that I wrote to put this book together. I kept saying for months, it's coming out here, it's coming out here, it's coming out here, it's coming out. And it's like, I really mean it, but I couldn't get from the 600 down to like maybe 130 pages where
Wow.
it makes sense.
600 pages?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's not going to be 600 pages
Okay.
because people have a short attention span, and nobody
Yeah.
needs to read 600 pages about this anyway. But the point is, now I'm at the point where the book I'm going to release a free ebook on the 1st of spring. I told you the book's coming out the 1st of spring. Now it's
Okay.
going to be a free ebook.
Okay.
And what it's going to be is there's a part on there that's one of the core ideas behind this book, and there's quite a few of them.
So like
But
an
a core idea is
intro to the book.
what I call the iceberg effect. So the best way to explain that is if you think of your scale like the tip of an iceberg, that's the number that's at the top. Everything underneath is always the place of all this flux and flow and stuff that people have no clue about, but it's
Right.
still there, whether you like it or not. But they fixate on this thing at the top. And the thing that makes what I'm doing a little bit different, I love Drew Manning, and I know you know who Drew Manning is.
Of course.
Drew Manning created
Fat
an
to Fit.
amazing, yes, fat to fit to fat. No, fit to fat
Fit
to
to
fit.
fat to fit.
Fit to fat to fit.
Yes.
He created an amazing platform because he realized he didn't understand his clients. And so he decided he was going to put on 60 pounds. So after I did the thing with Dr. Huizenga, and he was pleased after 10 years that I had done this ability to keep my body composition, everything in a good check and balance, I decided I was going to do my version of that and put on 50 pounds purposely. And then I was going to do daily body compositions, and I was going to do and track this over like a couple of years.
Right.
When Drew did what he did, he was doing it basically scale. He wasn't doing body composition stuff. And here's the other part. I love Drew, but the guy's got a jack body. I never have had a jack body my entire freaking life.
yeah, different
And when
frame,
you have a jack
yeah.
body like that and you throw on 60 pounds, well, you got a good foundation. You're going to be able to blow through that easier than somebody
Yeah.
that's been morbidly obese their entire life. So I said, okay, I'm going to do my
Yeah,
version.
it's
of
an
Drew-
introduction.
Yeah. So that's what I'm going to do, and that's what happened. Where it makes so I literally have stacks of these daily compositions, and it is crazy the stuff that I've seen personally. It only reinforced the fact that I had this theory because I'd seen it with a lot of people because I've done over 5,000 one-on-one body compositions. So I've seen a lot of people, but I was like, I got to have at least one patient zero that I can sit there and go, look, here's the data, here's the
Right.
stuff that's there. So
Right.
the book is really also an introduction where I'm going to take that and go to some of the other subject matter experts that are out there that do stuff that I don't know and say, hey guys, let's look at some other stuff here because we still got people thinking that it's calories in, calories out, and they got to do this, and we're never going to get anywhere if we keep doing this because people are,
Never.
they're really they don't have the right information.
Right.
So,
And then everybody gets frustrated and we shut down.
Yeah.
yeah, always.
And that's what happens. So the intro is coming out the first day of spring, and then the actual book.
Correct. So what's going to happen is that's coming out, and probably I'm guessing at this point about 30 days after that,
Okay.
this book will come out
Okay.
as for sale. The first
Okay.
was not for sale. Will come out as an ebook for sale.
Got it.
But the actual, my partner and I looked at it, the actual Amazon book will come out right after Labor Day. So the idea is I have a lot of information, but I figure since I'm editing at the same time, I want to now add people that I don't know, have no conversation with. I want to have them start to apply some of the stuff that I'm doing for people from all over the world. I'm going to distill some of that information down into the free book that's going to come out in about 30 days, maybe 45 days.
Got it.
And then before the one that it comes out in right after Labor Day will be the same
September.
type of thing that's going to come out that time. And here's why this is important. I'm going to be sharing how I wrote this book because too many people give up because I'm not a writer. I failed at English. Like I wouldn't know grammar if it hit me in the head. Like,
Right.
I'm horrible at all this stuff. What I'm hoping will happen out of this is people will see that it's like anything else, whether it's losing weight or a career or whatever. Entrepreneurship is not a pretty picture.
No.
If you get in there and you start with it, it's like getting on a plane. You might not like the plane ride, you might get in turbulence, but like once you're in the plane, you're in the plane. You need to land. So
Right.
when I started out with this book, I had the greatest of intentions, but it's been tough because I'm not really concerned how I will look. I'm more concerned, like, I really want to make sure that somebody gets this. They're like, this really made a difference. I'm not sure how to do this yet,
Yeah.
but I'm willing, like what I've done with Mitch and what you're doing with Mitch. I'm looking for the Mitches of the world that are like, I'm willing to stay in this. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
like
put
this
myself in the seat
resonates with
properly.
me. I understand this. I can take it from here.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, because otherwise, to just sell a book, I mean, to sell a book is nice, but like, hey, I'm 66. I don't get excited over just like, oh, good, I made that money.
Right.
I like to make money like anybody else does, but it's a big difference when you're 66 than when you're 26.
Yeah, you just wanna be
because you
happy.
really are looking like, how am I going to impact something that could make a difference for somebody?
Right.
Yeah.
So where can people find you, Jay?
If you go to jaylynnjacobs.com, JAYLYNN Jacobs.com, that's my speaker site.
Okay.
That's because I do a lot of speaking around the country. It gives you a background about me from a speaking perspective. If you go to jaylynnjacobs.com/author, it's where you'll find on that website, you'll find the page that you can just need your first name and email address, and we'll send you the book, the free book. So that's the easiest way. I have some other websites. I have some
Where on social
other
media?
things, but it's easier to go there. That one place, it's going to be the kind of grand central of everything.
And where on social media can people find you?
I'm on everything, and typically most Twitter,
Hashtag everything.
everything. Hashtag everything. For the most part, if you go with the letter J and then Lynn, Lynn Jacobs, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, even I don't do a lot on TikTok at the moment. I will be tomorrow, but I'm on Facebook and Instagram.
I'm dying
and
to see you on TikTok, by the way.
Well, yeah, there won't be dancing around. Joyce.
You and the family.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I hear
Jay,
you.
whenever we have someone here, we don't know who the next guest is going to be, but we'd like the guest that's here to leave a gem for the next guest.
Boy,
I know you got something
leave a gem for the next person.
in the entrepreneur realm.
Yeah. I think I would say no matter what, if there's one thing you do before you leave this life, I think there's something to be said for the people that you love, to leave something that literally takes their breath away in a good way. Meaning, whether it's writing a book, whether it's right now I'm working on a kind of putting together a digital, I take a lot of photos. And I've been taking stuff of the kids over time where I can go back and pull pieces together. And I think that if I was to say something that really makes a difference from an entrepreneurial perspective,
Yeah.
I don't care whether you have a quote unquote nuclear family, not whatever, but most of us as human beings and most of us as entrepreneurs we do like to make money. We do like to be successful,
Right.
but we also like to makes your life matter. And so what I would say is look for an opportunity, whether it's publishing a book, creating some kind of a digital portfolio, something to leave to the
To
people
leave
that
for
you love, because
love
it can
that.
become a catalyst for them to do something. And I think that's really, I think that's probably, if I had to say, the thing that I'm most proud of, that I love my kids and my wife and I model for them,
Yeah.
is that everybody's got something wonderful inside of them. And, you know, like whenever I can, I'm always trying to remember to remind anybody in the family, like, look, that's a really good thing. You might want to think about doing that.
Yeah.
It's going to make a difference in other people's lives. So I think that would be the gem. Like, what can you leave to people first that you really love? Because it's going to be something you're going to really pay attention to. And I think there's a big ripple effect that'll happen, because you don't know when you work on something how all of a sudden somebody sees. I have that happen to me all the time. Something I thought was insignificant, somebody's like, oh my God, that was so helpful.
Right.
I'm going to do this. Not the same thing I did, but it's going to be something that's going to be like
Something,
tag,
yeah.
what I kind of like tag you're it. Like
Right.
somebody's going to take off with it.
I love that.
Nice.
I love that.
Yeah.
So we're going to end this here. And we want to let everybody know that we are on Spotify, no longer on Google, on Apple, and we are on YouTube. So if this resonates with you, like our page, share,
it, comment.
because we promise the best is yet to come. And
Yes.
Jay, I just want to thank you again for being here with us
Thank
today.
you, Jay.
We appreciate
guys.
it, and your story is amazing.